Hello and welcome back to Thoughtbot's AI in Focus, the weekly live stream where we program using AI tools and techniques and check out new tools. And that's exactly what we're doing this week because I'm joined by Aaron Ortbals, the co-founder of Final Point, who are the creators of Quests. Aaron, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chad.
So, you can see it right on the screen here, folks. It says the open source app builder. So Quests builds and runs apps on your computer using any LLM. And we're going to try it out today and explore the features as we build. Aaron and I were chatting a few days ago, trying to find something that we were not only both excited about, but that we thought we could accomplish some good stuff in 90 minutes. And what we hit upon was we both use tools Obsidian and Notion and that kind of thing. And we were thinking that building a markdown editor where we have a AI companion alongside of it to be able to ask questions of the files and do that kind of thing was something that got us both excited. So Aaron, thanks for joining me to work on this.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. It should be fun. I love Markdown. I think it's a fun little project that we can kind of take it anywhere we want to go. And yeah, it should be fun. I think it'll showcase kind of, I think, some of the advantages of app builders for experimentation and that kind of thing. So yeah, exciting.
Well, so let's jump right in. If folks want to check out Quests, they can get it at quests.dev. And it is open source on GitHub as well, which is really cool. We'll talk more as we go along the sort of how you hit upon the idea for Quests and what the journey has been like. But I've got it downloaded and hooked up. I think one of the key things that jumped out at me as I was using it is that it works with a whole bunch of LLMs, not just one.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the challenges of the landscape, I think, with app builders. Really Quest is meant to be a local first alternative to, apps out there like Lovable or V0 that run in the browser. And they tend to have a specific model that they've built on top of, or a handful. But Quest, you can connect a bunch of providers and use your own keys. And kind of one of the things we think it's really good at is actually seeing how smart these models are beyond just chatting and ChatGPT or an equivalent chat tool. You can actually essentially test them with an agent as soon as they're released. So it's pretty fun.
So it defaults to Claude Sonnet 4 right now?
Yeah, so the way it works is, if you want to open the settings, we can just quickly show the providers section. You can see there's a few that you can add a provider. I think we have six.
Right now I'm connected to OpenRouter.
OpenRouter is a great default because you can get literally hundreds of models.
If folks don't know what OpenRouter is it's a service where you just pay that service. That service has API keys and connections to basically tons of other API services. And so you can choose which one you want to use. And it basically is a router that routes your traffic to and from the models.
Yeah, and one of the big benefits of it is effectively all the APIs are the same. So they're open. They're a subset of the OpenAI API that OpenRouter supports, and it's definitely the easiest way to test out as many as possible. But of course, people have their preferred provider. Some people only have OpenAI keys, so we support different ones.
And you even support Ollama, which we've used on the stream before to run local LLMs and connect to them from our applications. So if you want to experiment with local LLMs, you can connect with that as well. Very cool.
Yeah, with the GPT OSS models coming out.
Have you tried those yet? I haven't tried them.
I have. I've tried it with Ollama, and then you can also just use them through OpenRouter, and they're capable for sure. I think they really show the promise that open source is going to continue to improve, where if you run the 20B parameter OSS GPT OSS model on your machine and you're on an airplane, you can probably get by as developers become more dependent on these tools in their day-to-day workflow. You can probably get by with using that model for a lot of tasks. So it's exciting that they're there. I wouldn't say they're on the level of a Sonnet 4, but they're definitely much, much better than they were 6 months ago.
Okay, so there is, you've already got a bunch of built-in apps and templates here that's available under Discover.
Yeah, and so the registry, we have a repo called the registry where these are open source as well. And they're sort of a combination of AI coded and somewhat hand-tuned for now, and we're going to keep expanding this. We'd love to open it up to the community too long term to have more.
And I think that is an important thing, is that so we're going to use, and you can use quests to generate an app that's running locally using Node, TypeScript, React, and the interface through quests is largely prompting and working, but you can get to that underlying source code for the app that's being built.
Yes. Yeah. It was really more my co-founder, Jeremy, who's a brilliant engineer, spent a lot of time tinkering with kind of our default. It's almost like a framework, but it's not an all-encompassing framework. But the small set of dependencies we stick in the base template, he refined, and it's a really effective. They're small Vite apps that support client-server interactions, and that's sort of the default-based template. And we want to expand that long-term to have more optionality. Yeah. But that's how it works right now.
Okay, enough talking. Let's get to building. So what do you so what we're going to do is we're going to build a markdown editor with, like, do you generally want to have, like, what's the structure of how much we want to specify here?
That's a great question. I think you can go, I'd say more than a sentence is probably ideal, but you don't necessarily have to put like a full, product spec in here as well. So I would say, as we talked about markdown editors, I did a little tinkering, and I wrote a prompt that was a couple sentences.
Okay.
And what I had asked it, and I think it's a good starting point just to see the first generation, is like, build me a small notes app that looks like Apple Notes and supports markdown files, and stores the files locally. That's effectively what I said, and that was it.
Okay.
And I think something along those lines is a good starting point.
Okay, cool. And we do have a question in the chat, which I was suspecting would come. So we might as well address it right away, which is, what about other languages?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. And I first discovered Thoughtbot over 10 years ago, 15 years ago or so, when I was doing a bunch of Rails work. So I learned a ton doing Rails. I have a very soft spot in my heart for Rails and appreciate it. The reason we're focused at the moment on JavaScript, TypeScript, Node, React is just that, first of all, it's our specialty, and we think it's a good starting point for a lot of experiments. And the runtime, everything that runs within Quest is built into the actual Mac app, and we're actively working on Windows and Linux support, which mostly already works. But the intention was to keep the scope small on what runs. But we're working on a bunch of things under the hood that we think would enable other languages like Python or Ruby. So TBD,
there have been projects in the past to put a Rails environment, and I don't know what the current state of it is, but similar thing, where completely unrelated to AI. But it's been a struggle because the sort of to get Windows Ruby running cross-platform with the whole Rails development ecosystem in a container can be a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and this does not use containers behind the scenes.
Yeah, I meant container in the general sense, but yes, exactly. Although that is an option, I suppose, would be one way to do it, is to actually use containerization.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I mean, I think probably the most likely second language we would support would be Python before anything else, just due to the broad amount of adoption with Python, especially with AI applications. But yeah, I'd love to support Ruby at some point. But then, you look at some of the other tools out there where, sometimes a specialized tool can be better. But yeah, and the other thing is Quest does not yet support importing a project, which obviously is a desire of a lot of people. Like, how can I work on an existing code base? So lots of things to come.
And I see your co-founder Jeremy is in the chat. Jeremy has entered the chat, and he says, "Yeah, just need OS level container abstractions that work well."
Yep.
Okay, so I wrote, create a markdown editor that looks like the Apple Notes app that can edit and save files locally.
Yeah, I mean, I think that can be a good way to start.
Do we want to say anything about working with an AI chat on the side, or do we leave that as a future?
I think we should start here, and then add features as we go. And I think too, one fun thing about this is we can probably, I think Sonnet is probably the one we should focus on, but we can try a few other models in parallel too with the same prompt.
Oh, so where you do a new tab and you change the model and then you can have
at the same time. Yep.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I'll copy this then.
But yeah, we can kick off Sonnet. And yeah, you'll see. So what it's going to do is start to build the project. And you can see it renamed it. It picked a name and an icon. And yeah, it's an agent. The agent inside of Quest is, I would say, custom. It's a thing that we've built. Jeremy spent a lot of time on it. We've iterated on it. And it is very similar to some of the other, cutting edge agents out there like Claude Code or Open Code. A lot of the models, a lot of the architectural design of it is similar in that it calls tools and iterates and can do things like search the code base.
And I guess that's another thing, is because you've essentially said, like, here's the framework we're using. You've lowered the surface area of what it needs to know about in order to effectively make full programs. So I can see it's running marked, which is a markdown parser for JavaScript, and React Markdown, which is a renderer
adding those
for React. So it's adding those.
Yeah, and so it has a limited subset of effectively shell commands that it can run, and PNPM is the package manager that it uses, mostly because of performance and the ability to share dependencies. And so the repo, it's working on a Git repo behind the scenes, and so it commits as it goes and everything like that. But if you want to, we can open a new tab, and I'd say it's interesting to see what Grok code fast can do with the same prompt. It's a, I saw it there at the top. Yeah, there it is, recommended. And you'll see how fast Grok code fast is. I guess pun intended. And it's quick, and it generally for something a little more complicated isn't as good. At Sonnet, but it is really good at iteration and other things. And the other thing you'll see too, it checks, it actually will check for type errors and things like that as it goes as well.
That's so it is TypeScript in the background, not just regular JavaScript. And I see that over on the right-hand side in both of these things, you have a actual embedded browser. And even though it's blurred out, it is that actual web page that's being built back there. I can see it changing.
Yeah, you can actually dismiss it and look at it.
Should I dismiss it?
You can if you want. It doesn't hurt anything. The reason we cover it is mostly because we don't want people to be interacting with an app that's going to occasionally break as the agent's writing files. So that's why that's sort of the default.
So now it's working through syntax errors in what it's been.
Oh, and it hit max step, so you can just keep going.
Oh, okay.
It looks like the Sonnet one finished.
Yeah. That we saw green.
It's still going as well. We actually, I think we may increase that limit in the future, just because we don't want it to just. Occasionally, these LLMs can loop indefinitely, but
yeah. So it's at the point where it thinks it's working, that it has no errors, and so it's doing some styling to make the Markdown editor look even more like Apple Notes. We've got a green check mark over here too.
Yeah, we may want to paste that error into the chat and tell it to fix it.
Probably this right here.
Yeah. One of the features we want is this particular error that shows up, the agent will be able to see fairly soon and be able to fix it, but it can't actually see this runtime error at the moment.
And
still working.
So it over here on the Claude version, it's adding the ability to delete files, and autosave functionality was already added. So while this works, what inspired you to create this? Obviously, there's a lot of activity in this space right now, and that maybe it's as simple as that, but we've got an interface here.
I can answer that, and we can poke at the app and see how it works. But yeah, so we, Jeremy and I have worked together for about a decade. We ran engineering at a digital agency out of New York City called Postlight, and since then we wanted to work together again on a product in AI. We just find to be probably one of the more exciting transitions in technology in a long time. And the the idea for Quest being a local open source app builder really evolved originally from some ideas around, just enabling developers to use AI and experiment and do those kinds of things. And we started with some tools around evals and local developer tools, and ended up in this situation where like we really wish there was an open source app builder that let you just experiment locally, put sort of your privacy first, and let you have really full control over the output and the files, and where that stuff doesn't live on a server somewhere where it's hard to extract, or it's, sits on a proprietary like deployment environment. So that was the genesis of it. And we've spent, most of this year, a little bit longer than this year, iterating on it, and then really pushed to get it out in August. And we're still working heavily on it, but that's the
gist. Now you probably don't have all the answers, but since it is open source, I think a natural question is, okay, then what's the business? Is there a business model that goes beyond the open source?
Yeah, and the answer to that is we haven't decided exactly what the business model will be, whether it's something along the lines of subscriptions where you can pay, a monthly subscription to have an account with tokens built in. That's obviously an option and what a lot of tools in the space use, or the ability to just buy tokens. But actually behind the scenes, we do have an account system that we have built that would actually allow users to just log in and use the app without dealing with API keys at all. And that's,
so I noticed you do print out the token usage. So to do what it did, it was about 636,000 tokens.
Yeah. And we've paid attention to the efficiency, because a lot of times, like when Claude Code first came out, it would use a couple of dollars worth of API usage just to sort of read a project and create sort of the context that it needed. And so we've tried to be more efficient than that. But Sonnet is a relatively expensive model compared, like Grok Code Fast is much cheaper, like 10 times cheaper. But that's the beauty of this, is you can kind of pick
about 60,000.
Oh, so Grok finished good. So it fixed its error.
Yeah, awesome. It did fix the error and finished it. So I see that it's showing some errors down the left-hand side. I don't know if we need to worry about that.
It's probably just runtime warnings and that kind of thing, but we can check out the app and see what happens.
I'm going to click on plus to create a new note. What should we? Live stream script.
Sure. Cool.
Okay.
So, and it looks like it probably, not too surprisingly, gave you a plain text editor and then a preview. So we can check and see if that works. Looks like it's stuck with yellow.
Yeah.
Just like Apple Notes.
And start to make our editor.
And while you're typing, I'll talk about one thing about the design of this, like as far as the apps it produces. So, I
mean, I'm pretty impressed. It is not only, it's updating the sidebar with a summary of the, just like Apple Notes. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, but one of the aspects of it being a local app that we wanted to take advantage of is that the apps that it builds can use like Node APIs. They can use the file system. And so we have some instructions in the system prompt, which actually, one thing about being open source is you can actually, we want to expose everything about how this works to anybody that cares. So if you scroll to the top, you can actually look at the system prompt, which if you want to understand AI better, like in the chat at the very top, we actually show the system, at the very top, it's that little view system.
Oh, I see.
You can actually expand it and see what we sent to the agent to give it context, the LLM. But one thing we tell it to do is to, show it how to write local files and sort of prefer that as the default way to store things rather than like trying to wire up a Postgres database, which becomes more complicated and requires like a stateful server. So we really want most apps that are experiments like this to just use the local file system. It's much simpler overall for like this kind of thing.
I'm realizing that this should be a ordered list here. Okay, we're on step 4. Explore the results of what was created in each model. So I'm going to click on the preview button. Doesn't look like it.
I don't think it has the styles for.
Oh, yeah, that's probably what it is. In fact, I'm curious. Okay, there's no inspector. That's fine.
You can open it in Chrome too with the little or your external browser
right here.
Yeah, and so these are local host URLs, and I think this is one of the tricky things about how we design this, which is actually I think Chrome. You're required to use Chrome to use subdomains on certain
you're right.
Certain OSs. Yeah, there we go. And so if you inspect it here. Yeah, it looks like
it has the right
rendered it. And I think it may be missing. This is a bit of inside baseball with Tailwind, but I think it's missing the typography plugin. So we may want to ask it to add that.
Oh, so it's using the pros classes, but
those are in the typography plugin, which again, I know this off the top of my head. A lot of people wouldn't. So it's maybe a thing we can improve, but that should, hopefully it can install that and configure it if we ask it to.
Okay. Now, I suppose we could have just said, it looks like the preview is not styled, but that might go
it may
off
figure that out too. We can, that's what's fun about it is you can see how smart the models are.
Let's see what it does just for fun. It looks like the preview is unstyled. You're right. The markdown preview needs proper styling. Let me add the typography plugin and fix the preview styling. So it got that right away.
Yeah.
I'm actually a little surprised.
It really is a great model.
Mm-hmm. Okay, since this is using Tailwind CSS4 with the Vite plugin, I need to check how to configure the typography plugin. While that's going, we can go over here and
see how Grok did.
Yeah. Oh,
apparently it got that. I actually am really surprised. It seemed to have done a pretty good job.
And I like how it did a split live preview. It's not obviously like it's not auto completing any markdown or anything like that, but
no. You mentioned Obsidian at the beginning, and I'm a heavy Obsidian user, but for many years, I always wanted a markdown editor that had that live sort of preview inline behavior that Obsidian is so good at.
Mm-hmm.
I find that may be too big of a hill for us to climb, but it is an incredible piece of functionality. You may want to refresh the page. It actually restarts the server too if you do that and see if it. Okay. So it doesn't seem. It looked like it tried to install it, so
yeah, it did. Tailwind CSS4 handles plugins differently. Let me fix this by removing the import and using the built-in pros classes correctly.
We'll see.
So you mentioned that it's using Git.
Yeah.
So is there a way to have it go back and be like, just disregard what was previously committed and go back a step, or no?
Uh-huh. Yeah, you can. So it looks like that fixed it. But if you click on the versions tab, that's the easiest way to see the previous versions. And those are Git-based versions, like committed versions.
Mm-hmm.
And so click on the first one and you'll see what happens on the right and this is one of the things we think is pretty powerful about the runtime is you can click this old version and
it's going back, checking out that one.
It actually
and then restarting
spins up a separate sandbox.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you click exit in the corner, you're immediately back to the live version. Like it's almost too fast.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. We were
that's
like,
cool.
I just made some changes to the screen and Jeremy was like, are you sure it's working? Because it was like too fast.
And you have an option to restore to that version.
Which, yeah. And then the way that works is it actually makes another commit on top of your history. So you still retain the version. So
let's see.
Pretty fun way to.
Yeah, there we go.
Nice,
the
cool.
Preview is fixed now.
Very cool.
Okay, so where are the markdown files stored?
That's a good question. So if you go in the title drop down, we can open it in
the title drop
right below that, like where the little caret is. Maybe we should make that. If you open in, we can go look and see. It may be easier to open in VS Code to look at it. And so this is the actual Git repo and the project that it is iterating on. And so if we look here, .storage is probably where it stored the markdown file. So there you go. So it's writing those. It probably created an endpoint, an RPC endpoint to save these to disk.
And then we have the client and the server code here as well.
And so when we were determining what libraries and how to do client server interactions, there's obviously a ton of ways to do this in the TypeScript Node React world. But the default we're using here is a library called ORPC, which is I just actually think it's like the RPC API layer for React apps that finally got everything nearly perfect. It's an incredible library. But yeah, in the server, and yeah, it's using React Query so to save files and it's meant to be really
I have to say, looking at this code is surprisingly decent.
Yeah,
we've
it actually
seen
is.
Other things on the stream going before where not only, and maybe we're just getting lucky, but not only did it get stuck in loops trying to fix errors like we had before, but then the code was just you look at it and be like, this is, you don't even understand what's happening. But
yeah. And we, the two of us obviously were, developers and we program all day and use AI heavily, but also do a lot of manual code writing, inside of Quest. And we really wanted to make sure people understand the promise of an app builder does not mean that you can build the next huge code base without ever looking at code. We still think that is somewhat unrealistic, but it can be hard to maintain anything that's really, really large without being able to actually look at the code and code review and all of those things. But these experiments and these small apps, this looks pretty normal, like pretty normal React code, and React Query is well understood by a lot of the models. So we tried to have it write code you'd actually maybe want to keep.
Okay.
I think I just clicked
You
in
did.
people.
Yeah, it's okay.
Sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
It's been a while since I've used people.
Look at the underlying source code that was generated. Okay, what should we do next?
Well, I mean, I'm excited that we got this far so far. We'll keep going. I mean, I think we should try the LLM integration, which should be pretty fun to do. So I think we can just ask it in chat to say, can you add an ability to ask all my notes a question using an LLM? Something along those lines.
To ask questions of all my markdown notes using an LLM.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm curious, we still have a model selector here. So if at this point we were to change to a different model, how does it resend like context, or like how is that?
Like how does it share the chat history? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, or is it basically doing RAG on the code itself or sending it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's no RAG, there's no indexing, no embeddings or anything with the current code bases. That tools like Cursor do that, especially in large code bases. But no, effectively the agent it retains the context of the chat, and we do a bunch of things with those messages in order to like optimize them for sending them to the LLM. And you can create a new chat if you sort of want to manually clear out your context history. But then it always has the tools available, like searching and listing and looking at files. So a lot of times, for folks that have used GitHub Copilot or Cursor, where they sort of use a new chat as a way to kind of clear out the brain space effectively of the LLM, you can do that here as well. But yeah, it keeps the context of the chat because a lot of times that's important for what you're trying to do.
Okay, it looks like it did it.
Yeah, we'll see. So I think one thing that's really one of the, I think, best things about Quest that's somewhat unique is that you can add AI to an app and it should just work. And that seems bizarre, right? Like, where does it get the AI? What LLM is it even calling? Where does it get API keys? Well, the providers you set up, we actually pass the runtime information about that and tell it how to call LLM. So it actually can call, it can call a default model. It can actually list the models. And some of the examples in Discover do that. But that's one of the most fun things about this, about our app, we think, is that you can experiment with AI without thinking about those things.
Yeah. Okay, so what it says is it added new AI chat integration. It's got this blue icon over here. It says it's a brain icon, but it's actually a light bulb.
Yeah.
Which is going to be a modal chat window with clean, modern design, real-time conversation. The AI reads all your markdown files when you ask a question. It searches across notes. Beautiful chat UI.
It really, Sonnet likes to do these nice summaries for you when it finishes. It's a common.
Okay, so you can ask questions like, "What are the main topics in my notes? Summarize my ideas." Okay. Okay, let's open this note. Oh, I see. So it's actually over all of the notes, which makes sense. It's sort of what we asked.
Yeah, and we could obviously tell it to change the interface, which I'm sure we may do. I guess we can.
Okay.
We could even create a couple different notes with other stuff, so we could try to see if it can answer a question more complicated. But I guess we should test it first.
What is the live stream we're doing? I love how it did shift enter for a new line already.
Did it?
Enter to send.
Oh, yeah, it did. I see that. Oh, look at that. So it clearly called called the LLM and gave us some
sixth
info
step
back.
is blank in the notes. What should we do for the sixth step?
It's a good question. Maybe Sonnet knows.
Jeremy says he wasn't expecting it to work on the first try.
Well, I of course, being a smart live streamer, I did a little bit of experimentation yesterday or the day before about building an editor in Markdown, and I also was pretty surprised just how well it did on the first attempt at some of these things. And so it's fun. So yeah, I guess it's working, but I do feel like the modal is a bit jarring. Maybe we should ask it to change that.
Okay, yeah. Add AI LLM features to query notes. Okay. So the modal over the entire interface is a little jarring. Can we move it to a sidebar? Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I agree.
The prospect here of being able to have this tool that, you know, even if you are a developer and know how to do things, which is mostly the state of where these tools like this are at, is you sort of do need to know how to actually build applications in some way to really get something that's usable. But like, just because you know how to code, it doesn't mean that it's the best use of your time. But if you've got problems or automations to solve, to do, like, I like the idea that you've got this little container. I think you said that you did something for your partner where they had a directory of a bunch of files and they needed to be renamed or something like that.
Yeah, directory of PDFs where she just wanted to generate a better title and actually extract a date, and LLMs are excellent at that, much better than old OCR tools. So yeah, it's effectively, she couldn't have written this command line script to do that I could, but she can experiment in here and build a little tool.
Right. And
yeah, you don't have to upload
files
your files
outside of the directory that it's in, right?
Yeah, so you could build a traditional sort of like upload flow where you upload a file into a Quest app and it stores it locally, like in that storage folder, or you could have it literally reference your file system as well,
something like that. Yeah. Let's see what it ended up doing. Oh, okay. So
that part we gotta tell it to fix, but the sidebar looks better.
Yeah. Even a little slide out animation.
Yeah.
Okay. How should we describe that? When the sidebar is expanded, the notes interface is covered
by a black overlay or something.
By a black overlay.
I'm guessing it meant to do a less opaque overlay.
See the rest of the interface. So it says you're absolutely right. Let me remove the dark overlay so you can see it and interact with your notes while the AI sidebar is open.
Cool. But yeah, the other thing, as far as when to use a tool like this versus like a traditional IDE or something, I think a good analogy is what people are able to do with tools like DALL-E or ChatGPT images or like Midjourney, where maybe they just want to explore a bunch of different things, right? Prototype an interface, like with ChatGPT generating images, even if you're an icon designer, it may still be helpful for ideation on something. So that's, I think, a better place. Okay, that looks a little better.
And you can still go over and edit the note as well.
Yeah, and I think it would be better if the AI assistant panel was just a panel and not an overlay, but maybe we can fix that too.
Yeah. Right now, the AI assistant sidebar is an overlay. And we change it to be, what did you up?
Just like a right side panel. That's the word I would use, a panel.
A right side panel that doesn't overlay the rest of the interface.
And if we want to, we could also tell Grok to do something to see if it succeeds, or we can keep where, Sonnet tends to be a really good default, but yeah, I think depending on if we wanted to try anything else in parallel.
I feel like we should
keep going here.
Oh, well, I was going to say, grab what we asked before. From the beginning and see what interface it does. Yeah. So can you add the ability to ask questions? And we'll do the exact same thing.
And you'll notice too that, like Grok Code Fast is a reasoning model. So you see a little bit of the thinking as it goes too.
And you can expand those, I see, which is nice. It's always nice to be able to see that.
Yeah, and one thing, we opened the other project in VS Code, but we are intending on adding sort of a simple editor and the ability to see more advanced things, like what does the actual server output look like that you would see in a terminal, and the ability to just give the agent, the way we've described it is like give it more senses and the ability to understand what a developer would see, which is if you see an error in the terminal, the agent can address that. So that's one of the bigger things on the roadmap that we want to enable. We don't want to replace VS Code. We think that is an uphill battle, but we do want to give people the ability to kind of go to the next step where they may want to actually look at lines of code.
So it looks like there's some editors on the errors on the page, and actually this time it's seeing the errors and fixing them.
Yeah, it says 42 diagnostic errors. I wonder what it did there.
Oh, it's the TypeScript
syntax problems.
Syntax errors. This has a lost my note.
Grok did?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Okay, so let's see what kind of interface. Oh, that actually makes somewhat sense.
Makes a little more sense than a modal, probably.
Yeah. Start the live stream with introductions, then go over to quests and start to build our markdown editor. Okay. What is the first thing we need to do during the live stream?
I guess it'll put the answer below that.
Start the live stream with introductions. Okay. I'm going to make a new note. Oh, we've got a green check over here. Let's go see over here.
Okay. Hey, better.
Yeah, we got a panel. Nice.
Starting to look a little more like Obsidian's right panel too.
Cool.
One thing too we could add is ask it to add a button to show the file in the Finder, and it should be able to do that if you wanted to find the markdown file.
Okay. I would like to be able to edit the markdown file. Actually, to find and use the local markdown file. Add a button to open it in Finder. What I was going to do was, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and one of the things too, like we saw earlier, if it does end up stuck, you can just go back to an old version and keep going. So hopefully people can, if you do end up in some of the less intelligent models can get stuck, sometimes, and it's good to just go back. But Sonnet figured it out.
Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. So what I'm doing is I'm getting some markdown files that are a little bit bigger and more detailed that we can load in. Just gotta. Here we go. This is a good one. It's going to have some broken images, but it's a GitHub tutorial. So I wonder if I'm on this note, do I have a note about GitHub? I'm not sure what it's
thinking.
Is it thinking? Oh, there we go. Okay, yes, you have a note titled, okay, and it links. Oh no, I thought it was a link for a sec.
That would be smart.
It looks a little bit like a link. I was going to be very impressed.
I don't know how it would know how to do that, but that would be impressive.
It explains what GitHub is, how to edit the handbook. Cool.
Did our Sonnet
it did, yeah.
Finish?
So we've got a little icon over here now. Internal server error. Oh,
I wonder if that one works.
No.
Looks like that failed.
Is opening folder is not defined.
Looks like it got a...
Now I'm curious about making it to be able to link to open notes that are referenced in the AI answers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess it would probably try to add a router and then pass those links to the LLM as well.
That I can click on them and view and edit the note. Now I need to update the query notes API. Can you, now I need to update the sidebar to show a visual. We've got a green check over here. I think we maybe need to refresh. Yeah.
Let's see, did that fix it? Doesn't seem like
Actually,
it.
let me refresh and see if there's 10 errors when the page loads. Yeah, okay. So that's not the... Like when I click it, it's not generating a new error.
Probably trying to do something that effectively isn't opening that file. Probably the best way to debug this, honestly, would be either to have it attempt to do it again or give it more instructions of like how to do it, or look at the code in the editor and see what happened. But looks like it struggled to figure out how to do that. Open in Finder mutation.
So this is the error that we're seeing, I believe. Although actually I see it's also down here. Oh, that's to open the storage folder, which I bet is the folder icon. It seems
like, I think the error may be actually happening in that mutation, like in the open storage folder. I'm curious if you, like, typically you can go command click to like go to the definition of like open in Finder. Okay, so I'm wondering what this does here. And like I mentioned, we're going to add the ability to explore this right in the app, which will make this a little bit easier. But so what does it try to do? Okay, it does a command, open-r. It even tried to add different ways to do it. Exec async. Yeah, that's all seems somewhat normal.
What was the actual error again? Internal server error. Okay. So that's just coming from the...
We could ask it to add better logging, but it seems that it is throwing here.
Yeah, I was just looking to see whether it was obvious what was... We're not getting unsupported platform, because then... So something in here is... It should be going down this branch.
Yep. And it didn't seem to get into that catch statement, did it? Because we didn't see.
Right. It didn't say
open file in Finder.
File in Finder.
I wonder what at the top it had a ensuring storage dir function. I wonder what that does.
Oh, if it doesn't exist, it makes it.
Seems okay.
Yeah. Again, this code is relatively understandable, which is nice to see. Other times where we've, generated so much code to do so much functionality, it's been harder to just not have looked at the code at all and then jump in and be able to see what's going on. So you said you're doing things to help with that?
Sorry, what'd you ask, Chad?
You said you're doing some things in order to help with that, and like the fact that you've standardized on certain frameworks. I think Jeremy said like you have a client directory, you have a server directory, so that things don't get confused. That was a problem we actually had on a previous live stream. It started putting code that was just in completely the wrong place relative to where it needed to be.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things about these models is, let's say you take, the most popular full stack React framework, Next.js, and we just used that. There's just a lot more code involved, and it's a heavier framework. And the models, due to our testing, they can just get sometimes more confused. And that's why specifically, like when Jeremy decided to split the client and server in these like clear names, it was to help it navigate that code base better. But yeah, it's possible maybe open-r is just not working.
Yeah, so maybe we can even what does -r do?
I don't know. It's a good question. Open.
Okay, -r is reveal, selects the file, selects in the Finder instead of opening. That's, I don't have a Finder window open.
So maybe that would.
So if I can just edit that, then I got to go back here and refresh, right?
Yep.
Nope.
Maybe we should open it in Chrome and see what the developer console, the actual browser console shows us. Maybe we'll get one more hint. If not, we could maybe revert and try something else.
I almost accidentally just browsed away from the live stream broadcast. So that would have been bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so we open the note, we'll click in Finder. Failed to open file, internal server error, so it's the same.
What's the console if you open the dev tools? Say. So I guess we'd want to maybe try it again and see what the network request did. It's probably just says internal server error, but. In the preview, does it just say?
Yeah, it just says internal server error.
So it just, I think it just threw in that function, and we're not exactly sure why.
Let's take a diversion from this.
Yeah,
and
sure.
So it's losing the note. I wonder if this means this is not actually saving the notes locally.
Yeah, we can even just ask in the chat, where are you saving the notes, and it should be able to answer. Did it say local browser local?
Browser local storage with the storage key notes.
So we would probably want to ask it to change it and to store them on the file system instead. Yeah.
Because is the browser state, every time it refreshes, is the browser state local storage being wiped too?
So only if the subdomain changes, but the main app. So there's, the way we compartmentalize like versions and those kinds of things is with subdomains, and the projects have different subdomains to keep the storage separate for isolation. But it shouldn't be just deleting the local storage.
Okay, I told it to switch to file-based storage. So that's working over here. I wonder, is there... So this is the case where Quests doesn't really have the ability to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, before the console that we're going to add, where you can see the server output, the easiest way to debug this, if you were like, I need to get this to work, is probably to run the actual dev server in a terminal and switch to a normal developer workflow. But the other thing too is we could just revert a version and ask it to try again, like send the same prompt, and sometimes that will result in better.
Okay, I actually just had another idea, which is we're getting in. We could just tell it we're getting internal server error.
Yeah, true.
We're getting internal when we click the Finder button. Let's see if that helps it, because that is the error. It should get to that catch just like we did, and maybe it'll have an idea of what the problem is.
And Chad, have you tried to play a chess model, an AI chess model yet?
No,
the Discover apps.
I have in the past, like in existing chat apps, but I haven't used one of the new models.
Yeah,
in existing chess apps.
Yeah, the AI chess app that we put in the Discover, you can play any LLM, and it's funny to see how not very smart some of those models are. They'll just hang a queen immediately. But my son has been building games in Quest, little fun, like platformer style Mario games and that kind of thing. And it's a really fun way for kids to explore. I was really kind of blown away by what he's been able to do by just dictating into a chat box. It's pretty fun.
So it looks like what it found the problem was that there was a server side error. And then it said there's a syntax error. Oh, in the file. I see the issue. There's a broken string and missing closing for the chat function. I don't know if let's see if that actually. Yeah.
I think it went down a different path.
Yeah. I didn't break anything worse, which is good.
No. Yeah.
Let's go back over to, okay. So here.
Got to resume.
So you said we can go back to a prior version.
Yeah, so we could
right here
click that one and restore it. Yeah, and you'll see how that restores the version, and you're right back to where you were before.
And then you said basically ask it again.
Yeah, we could try and see if it'll. I would imagine though that generally speaking, from what I've seen, the way it implemented that is correct, but we could try it again and it very well may succeed. That's one of the things about these experiments too, is that sometimes you do have to just try multiple times.
Right. I wonder if we could slightly alter the request. Yeah. So
we could have it just open the file in the default app that has marked, see if that works too.
Right. So I would like to be able to open the file in the default application outside of the editor. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, let's try that.
I'm curious, like Chad at ThoughtBot, are any of your engineers or designers using tools like this to prototype like interfaces, or like using like, yeah, I find it interesting to talk to designers about these kinds of tools because sometimes they're useful for them more than the engineer to like think about something that may be in between Figma and a real application.
I would say primarily we're using editor-based tools like Cursor or Copilot or Claude Code inside of our editors, even if we are doing things like this. But I do know we're using a little bit of Lovable, and then and you're absolutely right. Like product managers, designers have been using them to. So we do design sprints where a big part of the sprint process would typically be making a tappable prototype in Figma. And for some projects, we've always made like a little HTML web page or JavaScript instead. But not every project was capable of doing that, whether it be the people on the project or just the size of what it is. And so you're better off just being like, let's make it tappable in Figma, prototype, hard coded, because we know we can do everything we need to do in one day. We do those prototypes in one day.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So now with tools like this, we are able to do a little bit more in one day. You just got to really make sure you end up in a place that it's working.
Yeah, definitely.
That was always the risk when you do the high sort of thing one day at a time, in one day where you're making a whole prototype, that you could accidentally end up in a spot where something's not working right, which isn't great. And so that's part of the reason why we sort of default to a Figma tappable thing.
Yeah.
So it looks like we got, if the error persists, try starting a new chat. Your app will not be
I feel like we maybe got a random, occasionally OpenRouter will just throw an error. I wonder.
Essentially just says unknown error.
Terminated.
Yeah.
You could just tell it to continue too.
We can just tell it to continue.
It's almost counterintuitive that you can do that, but you can. You can just say, keep going.
So it looks like it's sort of getting its bearings again to see what was already done. Okay, while that goes, we can go over here.
Choose a notes folder. Interesting. That's a different approach.
Wow.
Well, the dialogue to do that doesn't work, so maybe we can tell it to keep working.
Yeah, okay. When we click on choose notes folder, what do we get? Failed to select notes folder. Get an alert that says failed to select notes folder. I'll say we immediately get an alert. Okay, back over here, we have an open and a finder button. So it added both of those Okay.
I bet it's probably like a security thing or something.
That's what I'm
command.
wondering.
Yeah.
Um,
So maybe we should try a different feature or
yeah.
something.
Okay, let's go back. I'm getting the hang of this here. We'll go versions. Okay, here. So this is the...
Yeah, and so each one of these is sandboxed, so you wouldn't see the notes in the main application. So that's why that's empty.
Cool. Then we're back to having our note. And we've got our AI agent sidebar panel. Cool. Okay, anybody watching in the chat have ideas for a feature that you'd like to see in this? I'm gonna bring while we see if anybody's got any ideas. I'm gonna bring over a big...
Yeah, it'd be interesting to ask it to summarize Thoughtbot's GitHub tutorial. I would imagine.
Yeah.
The other thing we could do too is ask it to change the theme. We could make it retro themed, or just some, change the design of it a little bit, and it can have it churn away, or add dark mode, for example.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's what I was thinking. So here's a concise summary of the GitHub tutorial. Cool. Oh, I remember now. We were back here. Yeah, this one is struggling a little bit too.
Yeah, Grok definitely the Grok code fast definitely tends to make more mistakes, syntax mistakes, than Sonnet.
We got so over here, when we added this, we skipped ahead without ever checking the functionality that we actually asked it to do, which was when we ask questions.
Oh, the linking.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so have notes on how to use GitHub. So behind the scenes, what do we think? I mean, we could look at the code, but is it basically doing? Is it sending all the notes? Do you think when?
Yeah, I think the sort of basic implementation is to package up the markdown files in the context window and shuttle them over. Obviously, if you had a vault worth of notes, you'd hit limitations on context window. But one thing I could show you too is if you go to Discover in a new tab, we could open up. I'll show you how one of the other apps works, where you can select a model like within one of the apps.
Okay, yeah, let's finish up with that. So this it did link it. Let's see if it works.
Did that work?
Yes.
Wow. Cool.
Cool. Yeah. If you go back to this note. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
So back over here, yeah, we've got the summary.
Preview's working. Yeah.
Okay, so let's switch this to a dark mode theme. And then we'll go over to discover. Oh.
Yeah, it'll still be running, but yeah, you can open a new tab too if you want.
I do, because I'm scared. Okay, there we go.
So micro chatbot is
okay, cool.
If you click on that, you'll see a preview, and then you can create a project from it. And this app actually, so behind the scenes, we have like a little micro AI gateway that actually knows your providers, and you can use the OpenAI compatible models list to get. So down at the bottom, you can see it's going to be able to let you find any model on OpenRouter and chat with it, which is sort of the intention of this example. And you may know this, Chad, already, but like Gemini, there's Gemini models with 2 million token context windows. So you could probably load an entire vault and avoid the whole like embedding challenge in general. But it seems like I would say for a true piece of production software, I'm sure you would end up indexing those notes for an LLM.
Well, you can use local models. So that could be a way to sort of get around that. You could even generate embeddings on a local model to be able to do a really simple RAG against your files for the question being asked, and then go to the external model.
Yeah, I've used a few different Obsidian plugins that do embeddings locally, and it definitely depends on which model you use on how good they are.
Yeah,
but it's an interesting challenge. You said you all had done that previously, right? Like used RAG on internal docs.
Yeah.
How was the result of that? Did it work well? Like, were people able to ask questions to the docs?
Oh yeah, definitely. And the first pass, actually, we didn't even use embeddings. We just happened to have everything already indexed in an Elasticsearch index. And even just passing the question as it was asked to Elasticsearch was good enough to get the relevant documents to use.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, let's moment of truth. Let's see what this dark mode looks like. Nice.
Not too bad.
I prefer this, actually.
Yeah, me too. I use dark mode most of the time. We actually, for a lot of the early months of quests, we didn't even know if light mode actually worked. And so it was a thing that we had to fix and make sure it worked in light mode. But I think my eyes have just gotten used to dark mode.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking about and showing us quests. I'm really intrigued about the possibility, even just to empower individuals to create their own personalized applications is really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. This was super fun.
If folks, once again, want to check this out, quests.dev is the place where they do it. And it's open source on GitHub, so I assume you're looking for anybody who wants to contribute as well.
Yeah, we throw us a star, file an issue. We're definitely, one of the effectively we open sourced it just a few weeks ago, and we really want to hear feedback on the product about what people want to see, what they enjoy, what they dislike, what they, if they of course run into bugs. So, and yeah, we're open to contributions and feedback. So definitely come, talk on GitHub, and we plan on, growing the community, having a Discord and things like that too to chat. So, yeah, excited to see what people can build with it.
Awesome. And as always, you can work with Thoughtbot to improve your existing app or bring your new idea to life in web and mobile products. And you get to get in touch with us at thoughtbot.com. We also have, speaking of open source, Thoughtbot Open Summit coming up on October 31st. You can go to thoughtbot.com to find out more information about that and register. It's a completely free virtual conference all about Thoughtbot open source in general. And we have a featured project this year that is Hanami, the alternative to Rails Ruby web framework. We'll have the maintainers of Hanami along in Discord and all of the sessions with us. And one of the things that really separates Thoughtbot Open Summit from just a regular conference is that it is all composed of hands-on keyboard, live streaming sessions like this one, all different kinds of things. So if you want to get involved in FactoryBot, Administrate, Clearance, all the great Thoughtbot open source projects, or Hanami, or even just learn about and contribute to open source in general, check it out at thoughtbot.com. Aaron, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. This was great.
And as always, we're looking for future topics and that kind of thing. So feel free to get in touch. Just drop a comment anywhere you're watching this video. And that's it for now. We'll see you next week. And thanks again for watching.
Bye, everybody.